All right. It's that time again. Welcome to the weekly live stream. Hopefully, I'm not blowing into my microphone. I've tried upping the volume a little bit, so let me know in the chat if it starts to clip or something. Where's my live streaming thing? See if I'm actually doing it. Yep, looks like we've got viewers. All right, let's pop out the dashboard. You guys can't see what I'm doing because the title screen's still up. Salutations, Ron. So let's thank the patrons. That's not wrong thing. That's the wrong thing. Okay, that's wrong too. I can't click right. There we go. Getting a great start on it, aren't we? All right, thanks to patrons. We lost a couple this month, or past couple weeks, I guess. But here they are. Thanks, guys. You really, it really means a lot that you're supporting the project, and definitely look forward to more cool stuff in the future. Let's see. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I was like coding right up to the last minute here, trying to get things ready kind of in a little bit in advance for the live stream. So I'm going to put some stuff back real quick so we can talk about sort of the progress since last week, what we did last week, and all that cool stuff. Fortunately, I think it still builds. So, see, I haven't even cracked my Pepsi open. That's how far behind I'm running tonight. That's why I'm a little flustered with the clicks. Hey, Gaming Dan, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Yeah, this YouTube dashboard thing is useless. Okay, so as you recall, last week on our episode, we left our intrepid adventurers without being able to create their own clothing. So let's log in with Fade here. By the way, for tonight I have shortened this quite a bit. You'll see I have a test set up for testings, but I wanted to show it in situation where we had it last time. So, all right. So here we are in the game as it's loading its stuff. Hello, Spawn Tower. And as you recall, we added the clothing option, only now it's been fleshed out a lot more. I have it automatically adding some amount of fabric to her. So you have the sort of default full view. You can zoom in on just like the torso, which is I imagine what a lot of shirts and armor and stuff will be used, or you can just use the pants, or just boots. And it supports all the same controls as the blueprint editor, in the sense that if you want to, you can zoom in and zoom out and rotate around in all different directions. If you notice, there's purple highlights right now. That's because yesterday I was testing the specular. It's still not right, but that won't mess with us tonight. So what it's set up now is you can actually click and add whatever kind of fabric you've got selected here. So this is the sort of linen, natural linen. If we wanted to do bleached linen, you can see it's quite a bit wider. If we were to zoom in, you can kind of see that it's got textures and normal maps and all that other stuff. And I've added the menus and selections for selecting different types of shapes, which is in the old prototype tool that was sort of a palette like this, but I've grouped them into categories. So if you want square stuff, you can select the square and then come over here and select whether you want it just the center or you want the full square, or if you have you want to make an edge, you could make a bottom edge, which is what this one would be, or top edge, and so on. And so different variations on that. Now you can select them, but it doesn't do anything. It's still doing just the full shape. And so that's what we'll work on tonight, is hooking up that selection to make it actually a shape. But we'll do this in a more streamlined way. You can see that the normal maps are there. You can see how it kind of that's the leather. And over here, of course, the chainmail is all normal map. That's just one solid metal color with a normal map creating the texture. Anyway, so we want to get to the point where we can make different shapes. and that's what we'll work on. There's things that are still missing. If you hover over, it's supposed to show like the shape you're about to put, just like in the other, maybe blinking on and off. I'll get to that stuff later. Oh yeah, you can turn these guys on and off if you need to see, like if you needed to get in here to do detail. And the same thing works if you have the pants selected. You can turn off one leg to look at the side of the other leg. And yeah, if you turn them both off, you just get the the pelvis, which is kind of funny, but it works. So let's get started on the real stuff, and I'm going to first put this back in my test mode, and you'll see why I do that. So we turn off the main menu so we can't even play the game, and then we've temporarily wired in that clothing editor state we created last time right into the main thing. So yeah, so now it just pops right up and we don't have to do a lot of selecting worlds and waiting for them to load and all that other stuff. The interesting thing is, because the way I added the edit, undo and redo is already supported, so it's interesting because the way I pre-added these, I did it with real edits, so you can actually just undo all of the edits that the I don't remember exactly what order it's doing. Oh, so yeah, so it's removing them from here, like if we turned off the arm. Let's do torso. So you can see it's undo, undo, undo. And this is, the repaint's not very efficient yet either, so that's something that's got to be fixed. But anyway, all in good time. That's the easy stuff. We'll do the hard stuff first. So that gets us quicker testing. The fabrics and shapes are configured, currently hard-coded in code. Eventually there'll be some kind of tool to configure them like before and compile them. Instead, this is where I configure for the different types of fabric, and they're not standardized. These are directly ported over from the prototype tool. I will probably go through this on a pass and standardize some of this stuff a little better before I actually release it. But different normal maps and materials, this is where the fabrics are configured, and this is where the shapes are configured, all the different things. And the old code did this like all one big giant method where it would say, yeah, we want to, this is a square, these are the different edges that can be turned on and off. And what that means, we're not going to get to that tonight, but sort of when you see like the belt here, you can see how it's got like edges on the top and the bottom. This was just a full square like this, but it had the hard edges turned on north and south in this particular view to make them hard edges. I want to make some of that automated in that if you're putting down the same texture next to each other, it will automatically not put a hard edge there, and if there is no material next to it, it'll put a hard edge, and then still be able to tweak them on and off. But for now, just to get it working, I'm going to do something similar to this, but there's not that in the interface right now. But that's what this part was, saying which edges can be toggled on and off. Hard edges can be toggled on and off. Anyway, the old one also would tell where in this texture atlas the shape was. And now I do that in 2 passes. So this one configures all of the sort of the shape names and what hard edges there are, and then down here when we actually go to load the assets, we bring in, and I'll probably change this once I get to the compiling step, but maybe not. Anyway, so these are the only shapes I've configured so far, that top row. So those are the ones we can test with, and then if we get time and I get that working, I'll come back and add these later. There's more complicated stuff in that in the final version, it's going to take these and it's going to analyze these to figure out what the normal maps should be by detecting the bumps and generating all different variations for the edge maps. And I don't think we'll get into that. It's pretty technical. But that's what this, there's this big calculate normals thing that I've got to port over. Actually, I've started porting it over from the other that like iterates over all the pixels and tries to find the edges and so on. But today what we want to do is, now that I'm loading real images, what happens is there's a thing called the clothing painter, and that's what repaints the whole thing. So here's the interesting thing. The whole Mythruna world is based on sort of these what's called a cell array, a CELLARRAY, cell array, which is sort of a 3D. Where's my whiteboard? So it's sort of a, come on, why do you gotta reconnect? So where's my pencil? Okay, so it's that sort of 3D array of cells. That makes up the world. It makes up the block objects, and I reused it to make clothing. And so instead of blocks put in here, what you're doing is you're putting swatches of cloth in layers. So like so the bottom layer, maybe you've got the leather, and then you can actually put a layer on top of that that's the chainmail, and so on and so forth. And so then it layers those up and renders them here, which is why if we go in, and let's make the torso, if we go in here and like add chainmail, let's do chainmail, right. So if we added chainmail here and here, you can see that the leather shows up behind the chainmail. That's because it's actually layered together. The bottom layer had the leather, and the next layer up had the chainmail. And eventually I'll be able to use this to calculate armor, hit points, and things like that, so that if you get hit in the chest, I'll know what kind of damage you can take depending on whether you've got leather or chainmail or you've got it layered up. And there'll be some kind of negatives associated with wearing too much armor. Basically weight and maneuverability, all that stuff will be calculated from what you're wearing, but you'll be able to craft your own armor, and it will have sort of the properties that real armor. That's the goal. We'll see how much of that I can achieve, but the point is that I was able to use the same cell array that I use for the worlds for this, which means I get all of the storage and all that other stuff that the world libraries provide for free. And that means in code, when you see this, cell data, and we're basically going to iterate over that in 3D, X and Z, and then work our way up from the bottom layer up. And if we get to a value that's not filled in, we know there's no more clothing there. So the other things, because it's layered, we can go and we can delete just the chainmail from on top, and the leather still knows it's there. If we delete again, it goes right back to skin. And so see if I put these back now, you can see skin through. It's not the same as. Anyway, I think you guys get the idea. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. Assuming some of you are still on. This says there's one of you still on. I don't know if it's lying to me, but whatever. We got work to do, so let's press on. So this is where it goes through all of the cells and paints them. It looks up the shape from the shape index, which I just showed how that was configured, and it looks up the fabric type from fabric index, and then it tells the fabric, hey, paint your swatch into this location of the final texture. And what happens in memory is it makes a texture like this. This is Fade's outfit, her adventurer outfit, where her boots, the bottom of the boots are up here, and the shoes, and this is her front shirt and back shirt, and it's it's a cool feature, but it's not very advanced. The idea being one day this will all be done in the shader instead of making these big textures. But so this is Fade's clothes painted in flattened from the source data that, or the cell data. So this is painting sort of a flattened texture, and it goes through bottom layered leather, chainmail, and paints each of those swatches, and so it needs to know the shape. And so we come down to the fabric type paint, which takes this shape. And somewhere in here we'll see that it is currently not doing anything with that. Yeah, so paint takes the shape, and we're currently ignoring the shape. So I need to make this work, and in reality the shapes are supposed to be normal maps, and then if they have an alpha of 0, that means we don't paint that part. But right now they're not normal maps, and so we will still use the default normal, but we'll use the so the alpha channel to see whether we should turn it on or off. So I believe if we just do see, this was copied over from different stuff. So yeah, so we probably, maybe if this does work just by uncommenting this, we may get to do some other things quicker, but I'm having to remember why I inverted this. I think all of the textures were already upside down, but maybe not. And then we have to do a little bit of a fix up here. R equals default normal. Like I said, I'm not really calculating the normals yet. We'll fix that in a second. So YZ. And then, yeah, because see, we need to make sure that's a valid normal for when we combine them. Yeah, combining normals is a complicated thing too, which is maybe interesting for the math geeks on the channel. By the way, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I hope it's not popping, or if the audio is bad, let me know. Oh, these are normals are colors, so it'd be just RGB. Alright, maybe this just works. Oh, yeah, things change names at some point. Sound is good. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was watching back one of my videos the other day downstairs on the PlayStation. Okay, so there's still work to do here. Get pixel. Okay, so we'll implement. And I noticed that the volume was a lot quieter than, I know you guys have told me that before and I knew that, but on my computer it's not so bad, but when I was watching it on the PlayStation it was definitely quieter than all the other videos I was watching. Alright, so swatch shape needs a temporary, we would change the name to get normal. And so swatch shape will get a public. See, do I use the return value? I do, even though I passed the thing. Yeah, so for now, I'm going to fix this later because it, oh no, it needs to be that. Yeah. So that's not really accurate. Let's go back to pixel. See, I get hung up on names, but a normal is a XYZ vector of length 1, and if we're returning a color that's RGBA, it's not really a normal, but it's not really a, and normals encoded in pixels, in colors, where's my whiteboard? So you've got this normal that, did it turn off my pen? It did. So you've got this normal that points in this direction, but so that's got an X and a Y and some Z that we'll pretend isn't there for now. But when we put these into, and it could be negative, and up here, whatever. When we put these into colors, we can't go negative, so we end up running these components. We basically multiply them by 0.5 and add 1 so that the center is here, and negative goes that way and positive goes that way. So the color format and I don't really know what to call it, so for lack of a better thing, we'll call it pixel. That's why I was hung up on but the sad thing is that we can do better because we're not actually keeping color data in here. We could actually keep vectors, and I may switch to that. But anyway, to keep things compatible, we'll do this. Index equals x times 32 plus y. And so store.r equals data sub index plus plus. And so this is times 255 because data is in 0 or divided by 255. So data is 0 to 255, and we want color to be 0 to 1. And so we will do this, GBA. Oops. So the first component is R, the second, so on forward. And then return store. All right, so now we have a get pixel. And so that's, or get, pixel, we'll fix that later. Fix me. Not really a pixel. Just to make sure I come back and catch it. I forget things when I'm in the live stream. I'm so focused on getting from point A to point B that sometimes I forget to go back and fix these to-do list items. But yeah, swatch shape keeps its own data. It used to pull it directly from the texture, but now it pre-calculates all its own data, and so it doesn't need to do that anymore. It can keep it vectors or whatever format we want. We could keep the floats. Alright, so get pixel cannot work because shape is null, and that is true. In the new code, I allow shape to be null. So if shape is not null, else we have to do one of these mask color. Basically, if the caller never provided a shape, that means we want the full thing, which is something I may not support ultimately, but for now, that's how I did the base texture, the part that looks like a tailor's dummy. Alright, bad things. Bad things. So we got no shapes at all. Yep. But it could be this. So let's change this to J, because you'll notice there are no shapes in this bottom row, and we're trying to draw this shape. So it could just be the texture inverted. Like that could be unfortunate different ways, but we'll see. Since everything is oriented, no, it's still not working. And the thing is, I know that so the part that I have this I have not tested because I wrote it just before the live stream was the filling in of this data. And so what if we just make sure to set everything. Oh, you know what? You know what? Bytes can be positive or negative. If we fill them in, they're negative. So when we interpret, so where's my yeah, so this is the thing, right? Why won't you let me edit? Okay. So a byte can be 0 to 255 in the sense that in bits, right? But in actual values, it's minus 128 to 127, and that is 8 bits. And so when we use it, when we fill in something like 255, which we did here, so if our store.r was 1, we're storing 255 in there. That's actually going to end up, because of 2's complement, so basically the byte equals, if you want to think of it in bits, it's all the bits on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so really, in integers, that equals -1 because of 2's complement and how negative numbers are stored, etc. And Java uses signed bytes, which is a constant source of annoyance. Crap. I should have done... I should have done this. There we go. So anyway, that's why. Constant source of bugs if you're not familiar with bits and unsigned byte versus byte. Long and the short of it is that my code in here needs to make sure that we are interpreting this as the raw bits instead of unsigned bytes. And one way to do that is to do a bitwise AND with just the lower 8 bits. Now, I don't know, so maybe this is interesting, maybe it's not, but, whoops, actually I wanted to come back here. So a byte can only have 8 bits and they're interpreted unsigned, but an int, which is, stop doing that. Int, let's just call it C. It's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 31, 2. It's got 32 bits, right? And this would also equal -1, but we don't care about that. So what happens is when you try to interpret this as an integer, it's going to turn it into -1. If you do any operation with it, it's going to turn it into this really long, it's basically going to what they call sign extending, right? It takes this bit here, which says that this should be negative, and it extends it all so that this is negative. And when you do bitwise masking, that AND symbol that I used, that's a bitwise mask, a bitwise AND, which means we're saying we want to take this guy and we want to AND him with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I did something wrong. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I must have... Oh, no, 1s are shorter than... That's what I get for we want to do a courier. Yeah, so I miscounted somewhere. Anyway, so if you AND these together, you know, 1 and 1 is 1, 1 and 0 is 0, and so you end up with just, like if this was a different number that was 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 here, it would pass that through, and so we get that. So basically what we're doing when we do this is we're saying convert this to an int, so you're going to assign extend it, but chop off everything but those lower 4 bits. Why is 0xF the lower 4 bits? Because that's the hexadecimal. 0xFF equals hexadecimal 255 in our decimal. In binary, it's 0 b 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Wait. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So that's hexadecimal to binary. Eventually, you can do it in your head if you've done it enough, because each of these is 4 bits. So 0xF is 4 bits, which is 1 2 3 4. But 0x1 is 1, 0x2 is right, and so on. When I first started programming when I was like 10 years old, this is how we created graphics for the TI-99/4A. We had to like figure out, it would take graph paper and you draw pixels out and go, oh, okay, so that's this hex code and that's this hex code, and you put all the hex codes in and you get to draw a little character on the screen with, anyway. After a while you get, I knew binary before I knew what binary was because of that, and so I knew how to convert to hexadecimal before I knew what hexadecimal was, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. We're basically, that was a long-winded explanation for saying we're basically keeping the lower 8 bits, and this should fix the problem. Assuming I am correct about the problem, but I think that what was happening is we were setting, everything was negative, so it's all getting cast to 0. Yep. So that's what that was from. So basically all of our normals were set to 0 because they were cut off at -1. Can't have a color less than 0, so they were getting chopped at 0 because they were all -1. So we should be able to set, let's keep the square and make a half-centered square. Let's see if it works. Nope. Okay. But the full worked. And so now we have to start looking at if our shapes are even being used correctly. I suspect not. Because we know from the full that the math is right. So I think that probably when we are, so shape ID 1, this was like the nice thing about having lots of debug logging in. So if we set this back to, or so we still want square, we want it to full. And if I do another one, we could see shape ID is still 1. Yeah, so basically we're not using the shape ID that the user has selected here. I had no way of testing it, so it's not surprising that the UI is not fully hooked up. So let's see where I may have hard coded the shape ID, in fact. To type ID, shape ID. Shape ID is hard coded at 1. Look at that. Oh, but that's, that's when we're doing that. Never mind. This is where we're actually handling. Oh, we can talk about that. So whenever the cursor moves, we basically check to see where it's intersecting that model, and then we can convert that to a texture coordinate in this big, oops, not that. In this big texture, we know from the triangle that was clicked, we can figure out what the texture coordinates of that triangle were, and we can figure out where we are in this texture. And that's what we do. We figure out what the cells are, and then up here, when the user actually clicks, when the player actually clicks either the left button or right button, so if it's the right button, then we get the shape. Yeah, so we should be getting the shape, and basically our shape selector gets, so that UI portion that's letting us select shapes, we ask it what the current selected shape index is, and it lies to us. So that's the swatch shape selector. And selected shape index, my guess is it's never set. I had this problem with the fabric type selector also. Yes, finds the first one, default, sets it, and then if we set it externally, it'll set it and reset everything, but then we never actually set it again. And this was the same problem I had with the fabric, because I cut and pasted code from block selector from the blueprint editor, and it was setting that during rotation calculation and so on. So okay, wait. What do we need to do? We need to reset selected type should, for now, because we don't have the toggles for edges, then it's a straightforward loop, and it's not name and it's type and variant or something. Yep, type and variant. So T type V variant. That's good. So instead of fabric type index, we want shape type index. This is slow. I mean, well, slow is relative, right? But not the greatest way. What's the counter for shape type index? If you guys have any questions as I'm breezing through all this, let me know. Maybe you just like to hear the sound of my voice and don't really care what I'm saying. That's fine too. Or maybe you've put me on mute already. That's fine. So get shape count. That's what I thought it was going to be. Alright, so get shape count. Swatch shape. Oh. Did I already change that? Or is this? Yeah, I did. Oh. Neat. Okay, so shape. Get type. So if the type is what we're looking for and the variation is what we're looking for. Baldur's Gate 3. Gosh, I'm so tempted to play that game. If you guys see suddenly no progress happened on Mythruna for a long time, you know I was sucked into the. Except for I probably don't have a PC that's really good enough to play it. So selected. It's actually called selected shape index. Selected shape index equals that, and then we'll do that because we don't need to do it here anymore. And actually we can just set the shape. Alright, let's see if that fixes it. I mean, once I fix all the problems, cannot find symbol shape type index. No. What did I do? What did I do wrong? Swatch shape index. It's not shape types, there's shape swatches. It's easy to say. I had one of my front teeth replaced with a crown. And while I have a tooth there, I spent a lot of time without a tooth while it, the socket healed, and before they could put the crown in, the implant had to heal. And I felt like I talked with a bit of a lisp. And ever since they've put that tooth in, I still detect that little lisp. And so something like swatch shape index just tweaks my ears a little bit. So that should be good there. Selected fabric type is wrong. Oh, yeah, then we don't need that. I copied that over from the other. All right, let's try that. All right. Will we have shapes before we even know? Oh yeah. Shapes can be null in the index. In fact, shape 0 is always null. Yeah, it happened 2 summers ago. I think that happened before I did live streams. If you guys didn't, there was a time when I could wear like this fake plastic thing that seemed like those Invisalign things, but it had a like fake tooth in there, so I could wear that when I was out and stuff. But it happened during COVID, so I never had to go anywhere. I was always wearing a mask, and so I hardly ever wore that thing, which is why I spoke with the lisp to my ears anyway. Sometimes I would exaggerate it for fun, but now the back of that tooth is a little different. Like they carved it. When they put the tooth in, it felt fatter than I expected, and so they carved a bunch of it away. Oh no, it was hitting the bottom teeth in a strange way. So they carved out the back of it a little bit, and they carved it out more than they needed to, so I still feel like there's a little hollow there. And so that's where I feel like the S's still slip through when they wouldn't normally. But I think it's just a me thing. My wife says you can't tell. And she's got license to pick on me for any number of things, so I'll trust her judgment on that. All right, so we got a square. Let's do the half centered. Is it gonna work? Oh. All right. But that's something. Let's see. Did it select the right shape? Yeah, you see all these exceptions because pay-per-click not found, because we haven't gone full into the UI yet. Whenever I click on a button, it tries to play that click sound, and there's no click. Anyway, so we're here with type ID 1. That's not right. What if we change to edge and left? What do we get? Okay, we get something different, but still type ID 1. Oh, type ID 1. Sure, shape ID is 27. I'm looking at the wrong thing. So where's my test image? So Ron, how's Baldur's Gate 3 doing? What kind of character are you playing? Okay, so that should be that shape over there. We'll wait for him to answer, because I know he's playing. In a way, I'm kind of a jerk, because I know he's got to stop playing to type the thing in. Maybe he's in the middle of a boss battle. Yeah, so that's not right, but what do we got? Shape ID 64. Yep, because this is... Oh no. Yes, because 0 through 7, and 8 through 15, and so on, and this would be up to 63, but then we add 1 because there's a blank shape, so that's right. So something else in the math is wrong. I'm assuming so many things here because I was not able to test intermediate things. Let's try the edge that goes... Oh, a bar. Let's go to the bar that goes right and left. Let's see. Okay. All right. That is like... about the one that goes up and down. Huh. So the question is the data wrong, or so let's see. Thanks, NT767. Thanks for dropping by. So you're running a Durgar Warlock. Nice. Nice. I've been purposely trying not to read things about Baldur's Gate because simultaneously I don't want to be tempted into it, and I don't want to have spoilers. It's one of the few games I don't read about, because I do read about other games to get ideas for Mythruna, but I'm just really worried that Baldur's Gate 3 will suck me in. Since I guess it's like fully 3D, like you can rotate around and stuff. I thought I saw some screenshots. So more like Neverwinter Nights than the original two Baldur's Gates. Is that true? Okay, so let's see. We probably got some math wrong. Let's verify that these swatches are being loaded correctly. So swatch shape. It could be how we are calculating the index. In fact, it is certainly how we are calculating the index. No, that's wrong too. So this is something, when you convert a 2D coordinate into 1 dimensions, which I'm doing here, you have to be careful that you do it in the right order. And so here what we're doing is we're reading in what I would prefer a consistency. What we're doing here is we're reading in columns. First column, second column, third column. And I think I'm going to switch that so that basically the final thing is, yeah, it is no voxel. Yeah, sure, of course not. But a deep on story. In fact, I read it. One of the articles I did read was about someone who went on like a side quest that turned out to be one of the coolest experiences they'd had in the game, et cetera, and they were like, and they easily could have missed it if they just hadn't taken this side passage, and they really respect Larry and the developers for having the confidence in their storytelling to put something like that in and recognize that a lot of users won't even find it. And I think that's cool, because that's the way I'm developing Mythruna, and to have like lots of stuff that you may never see, but when you do, it's going to be kind of exciting. That's the hope anyway. So what I'm saying here is that we'll go, it's how the data is oriented in the array. So it'll be, the first 32 bytes will be, the first row, and the second 32 bytes will be the second row, and so on. And that will closely match with what this originally said, which is, oh no, that's it, right? That's what this says. They matched before, but I prefer it this way because it makes more sense to me. So the X's are in the, anyway, whatever. But first we've got to confirm that we are even loading the data correctly. So let's pick what I want to do is say, let's make a debug. Let's get rid of this. Boolean debug if x cell equals 7 and y cell equals 7. If debug. Basically, I don't want to print this stuff out for every cell. I'm going to try to debug this particular cell because I know what it's supposed to look like. So we will say log info debugging x cells. This shader texture work, there's a certain amount of it that's kind of appealing to someone who's detail oriented, but it's also hard to do while I'm on a live stream because you want to try to check everything as you go through. Whoops. It's funny, if you touch type and your keyboard gets shifted even a half inch to the left or the right, then you start typing really strange. And my keyboard just got bumped, so that's why I was typing in the wrong column. So if we got this, J can't type equals store. All right, and then let's just make sure. Yeah. So let's make sure that's what we expect. Just one thing at a time, because then I can take that debugging out. Okay. Well, I did change some things, so let's see if it just happened to fix things up. Nope, but it did make it go vertical, so that is related. Okay. I'm making the assumption that, yeah, I think these are 32 by 32. But it is an assumption. Okay, so I think somewhere I have the grep already. No, that was... Did I not save? You guys are supposed to tell me stuff like this. Say, Paul, you didn't even save. Well, so we went from me thinking this was going to be a super quick thing to it not. Okay, so we should have... Yeah, so some point... Yep, here we go. Yeah. So it does have some that have the alpha set to 1, some that have the alpha set to 0. Good times, good times. And now, let's confirm. We're only interested in two binary string. We're really only interested in the alpha channel, so we'll just debug the alpha channel. I just want to make sure data is what we expect it to be. Bum, bum, bum. And then, okay, I don't need the rest of that. Okay, so yep, zeros or ones. And yeah, because we're doing, again, like I said, it got promoted, that 8 bits got promoted all the way to 16 bit or 32 bits. So this is all what I would expect, which means we need to check where we are reading the data, which is here. Get pixel ij. And so we'll set debug. See the shape type. Shape type we decided was 64. So boolean debug equals shape swatch shape index. Don't try that at home, kids. Okay. Alright. And yes, that's a different thing. And we don't care about anything but the mask color. Dun, And this is fabric type, so, and I saved. Yeah, so many things to miss, and it reminds me of an ultimate choose your own adventure. Yeah, lots of replay value. That thing is like the choose your own adventures, I would so heavily cheat, and I would read ahead, keeping my fingers, you know, a really good choose your own adventures. I was using like 4 different fingers to keep track of different parts of the book I was in. And I always imagine, you know, turn it into a big giant tree. Okay, so that's not right. Oh, I didn't even say debug, that's why. Yeah, so I kind of like it being hidden, and you know, where my oldest child will go read online about all the different ways to get, you know, Fallout 4 to go different directions, or Skyrim backstories, and I think that's neat to explore all the different channels. I kind of prefer to come at it cold, make the choices I would make, and see what happens. Okay, so this is, we want fabric type. Oh, wait. Oh, sure. I never placed one. The whole point of this was to pick, you know, the one that we knew was a problem, and I'd have to click it. Okay, so let's click half-centered, and we just do boink. Okay, so we get bad things, and then we can look. Oh, it's right there. Okay. Okay, that's funny. Oh, yeah, sure, 26. It wouldn't have changed. Oh. Why are we getting differences at all then? We're basically getting default normal for everything. Swatch shape is the square half-centered. Okay, that's right. We are in debug mode, so that's really what we wanted. Why is... So first off, why are none of these... Oh. Interesting. So we're doing this after the mask color check, that's why. So we're only seeing the ones that have real values. And they do run 0 through 31. So basically what this is telling me, it skips the first one, and then the full column of the second, basically second full column is unmasked, and so on. And then is it going to be the last one that's also masked? See if it goes all the way up to 31. Yep. Okay, so so only the first column is correct. That feels significant. So either where we are building this array, the array is wrong, or so if I is 0. But see, that's interesting because that means the first pixel of every row is correct. And then the swatch shape, we're setting y times 32 plus x, and it's only right when x is 0. Okay, so let's move our debugging a little earlier and see if it's when we're reading it or when we're writing it. So we'll come here, if debug, oh yeah, put this back. So if debug, sorry this is taking so long, guys. I really expected this part to be the easy part. But you know, I don't know why that's true. Int index equals j times 32 plus I. Int info I plus j equals, and so what we will do is we will say data index plus 3. Alright, let's see what happens. Whoops, wrong one. Wrong one. Ah, come on. Already used index. Where? Wait, is that what it's complaining about? Yeah, already defined. Oh, I see. Let's just reuse bpos. It's there, we might as well use it. Okay. Come on. Come on, problem, show yourself. We are over time. I still have to replace wife's bandages. Okay. There we go. Alright. That's unexpected. So 031 is 0. 431 is 0. Oh. So this is not a straightforward array, right? Each yeah, so each element is one of 4. And so, you know, this is fine for filling it, but when we do this, the x position y in this case is really times 4. That's why we, anyway. So I don't know if you guys want a more detailed explanation of why that's true, but again, this is anytime it's faster in Java to have a one-dimensional array than a 2 or 3-dimensional array, and so it pays to do this math, but super easy to forget some little detail and get the math wrong. Shapes should work now. In fact, we will get a pretty clear indicator right away. Well, except for it gets blown away by all the playing stuff. Okay, so let's move the torso. Let's set the, okay, we want square, we want half-centered, and we should get a little half-centered. Oh no, it's wrong in a different way now. Oh crap. Okay, so but it appears right here. Or maybe not. We go from, yeah, no, see, it's still not right. Somebody's doing the math wrong. We should see good stuff here. Oh, huh. No, we don't. Okay, so we can just, I got overconfident. So this is still wrong. Because we need to, well, it's, I mean, it's just, and this is why we need parentheses here, because this is accurate to finding the element we want, but then each element is really 4 values in the array. I'm pretty confident this time. It's just one of those little things. You know, Java as a language wasn't necessarily designed for, you know, some byte processing like this. And so when you have a 2-dimensional array, every time you index into an array, it's going to do, well, depending on whether Hotspot has fixed it, right? It's going to do a length check, and that's worse on an object array than it is on a primitive array. And so when you have a 2-dimensional array, it's really one array of arrays, which are objects. And so, so in general, it's just a little performance trick, and it's just, you gotta get the math right. And usually I have utility methods that already do this for me. And I'm hand coding this. I hand coded that right before the thing. So of course that's what's gonna cause me problems. But yeah, it's just a little trick, and you can get, I mean, for something like Mythruna that iterates over 3D and 2D arrays all the time, it can be a big deal. Even just a little bit of savings goes a long way, right? So I intend to do it by default. Okay, so this should be, yep, so we're getting little square swatches. If we switch to edge, this should be a bottom edge, but it could be a top edge too, because I think that yeah, that's what it is. Well, it depends on, that is a bottom edge, right? It's the bottom edge of whatever was up here. This is the top edge. No, it's the bottom edge, meaning that it's an edge that's at the bottom of the cell, and this is an edge that's at the top of the cell. And so left, right, which shouldn't be affected. If I do left, it should be over here. Yeah, so this is all right. This is correct. And this is right. So actually I should put that one on top of the other one. And so that's, here's a case where I was talking about, right? Let's say we take these off. We've got these horizontal, we can flip over to something that's really obvious like the green plaid and put our, you know, swatch over top of that. We can make the, yeah, so then we can, yeah, so we can put like swatches on top of things, and half, see, top, make a red, oops, no, I like that, red plaid. Oh, no, I guess the top and the bottom are backwards. I would expected the top to be up here. So I have to fix that. But so anyway, you can get like weird combinations of things. So we've only hooked up this top row. If you guys want to hang out for a second, I can hook up some of the other ones to get some more interesting swatches. So basically, let's do the next row, which looks like this, where I say, oh, actually, it'd be easier to do it with the mouse. One of them there cases. So anyway, while I do this, any of you guys working on any projects that are interesting that you want to talk about? My next steps for this are obviously to finish the shapes, finish the normal maps, so that the edge normals can be set. And that's basically sort of the minimum editor support. More, please. I just got past those 9 dwarves that were kicking my butt. Nice. So yeah, so the next is to get the, finish doing the normals and the edges and things, and that gets the editor fully working, and then start storing that in objects in the game, just like the blueprints. And when yeah, too hot outside. It is. Today was kind of a nice day. So this is frayed edge top. Yep, frayed edge left, bottom, right, and I'm recognizing that those are all backwards. So top left, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now we should have angles. Let's double check that. And yeah, I won't necessarily make you guys sit through all of this, but with the angles we might actually be able to see. Oh, I'm not calculating edge normals yet, so yeah, we won't. Never mind. Okay, so we should be able to, let's do, let's fix the leather so that it has, what do I call it? Angle. Yep. Angle bottom. Oh no, we can't do that one yet. So bottom left is going to be backwards, right? Oh. In fact, it's busted. Oh. Oh. It's doing the laces. I've mismatched something somewhere. So let's try bottom right. Okay, so bottom left was this one because they're backwards. Bottom right was this one. Yeah, so we're several rows off. Here, 1, 2. I don't know why that would be. Let's try the frayed edges, which doesn't make any sense for leather, but bottom. Frayed edge bottom, which will really be top. Okay, so that's the triangle. Yeah, so so my math for looking these up is apparently wrong, but you get the idea. It's kind of working. I'll sort this stuff out. Let me look at it for a second. So the top row worked so well. Everything was where it was supposed to be. Well, actually, I'm making assumptions because we never checked the bar. Right, left. Yep. Top, bottom. Okay, so that is working. Bar. So all the top row is correct, and all of this row is pulling in strange things. So are we X cell, Y cell? X base, Y base. So we're basically pulling the wrong values when past different cells. Huh. so let's see. My prediction would have been that this is 0, 7, so this one should, oh wait, yeah, this one should be 0, 6. And so, well, let's do, this one was wrong too. So 7, 6. Let's kill this. Run again. See if we're getting data we expect. Man, I made that Pepsi last an hour. No wonder it was getting kind of warm. Alright, shape config. Alright, so that's definitely not right. Definitely not right. So somewhere up here it's going to have those, yeah, those little, this is the laces. And yeah, interesting. I'm iterating by rows. Yeah. So my math is wrong here. Let's see. X base, X base, Y base, Y base. The thing is, it says right there. Debugging 7.6. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's always tricky when you're messing with pixels. Alright. Okay. So let's go back up to the here. See what the debug thing is. X224, 192. In fact, we can take this out for a second. And debug equals debug, or let's put our original back so we get two different values. Crap. I just want to see that the math is right. Could be the texture is maybe not as arranged as I expected. Oh, you know, I'm a big dummy. This is the way I arranged it in that UI, but this is not the way it's arranged in that texture. So dumb. You know, in the texture map, it's like the images are all over the place, and these are pre-organized, and that's why. So I'm not. I'll show you what I mean. I'm just being dumb. Here's how they're arranged in the actual texture. So when we have a frayed edge, they're actually down here. So dumb. So dumb. Sorry about that, guys. So the top row is the only one that matches the other, and then we have top left is the 0 position of the next. So anyway, we can fix this. So top left is 0, 6. Top right is 1, 6. Bottom left is 0, 5. And again, these are backwards, and I'll fix that later. That's a math problem. Okay, so that, and then the frayed 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So these are all at level 2. 0, 1, 2, and 2, 2. So 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. I can close this because it is completely useless. Oh, so dumb. I hope that if you guys ever have a live stream, I hope that you are able to avoid doing really dumb things in front of others. I suspect it's impossible, but so let's see. So this is going to be backwards, but top left. Yeah, so it's going to be bottom left. They're backwards when I said that. So let's put the leather back. So look, we get a little. So that was top left, so top right. We can make a little neck for her. We can carve out a little down here by doing bottom left, which is backwards, I know, but that's the way it works, and then bottom right. So anyway, and maybe for whatever reason her leather has, you know, frayed edges, and so we should be able to say edge bottom because it's backwards. Oh, not edge, frayed edge. We knew edge was working already. Frayed edge. Doink. I don't know how you would have tattered leather, but whatever. And there's a partial triangle that, you know, I'll add back later. We could have filled that one in. So anyway, it's kind of working. And so I can just finish configuring the rest of the shapes. I won't make you guys sit through that. But, so next steps, what I was talking about, we'll add those little edge toggles here and get that working, and maybe have an automatic mode that I can experiment with. But then I can implement save clothing, and so we can we can create, you know, shirts and pants and things, and then before this next release, I have to have some way to put the clothing on the player. So there'll probably be some kind of character, you know, like we had the clothing in inventory. There'll be like up at the top the character that'll bring up a picture of your character and have ways to add, remove clothing and so on. Until we can put them, or maybe I'll put them in inventory. You have to equip them. I have to see. Perhaps there'll be, you know, some kind of add to inventory button here temporarily. But the goal would be for this next release, and I'm trying to release it by the end of the month, but that's becoming less and less likely, is to have the clothing editor functional so that players can create their own clothing, like they can create their own objects and customize their character. That's the goal. And then the next month, I would work on, you know, the sort of crafting table where you can put blueprint objects together into compound objects and things. Do you guys have any questions as I wind it down? In the meantime, I hope you all have a great week. We will do this again the same time next time. And I'll go ahead and say thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, please. It all helps. When you play Baldur's Gate 3, think of me not playing Baldur's Gate 3 and tediously working away at my code. But I hope you guys have a great time with that, and I will see you next week. Thanks a lot.